Professor William B C Chang from the law school.
Good afternoon, trustees. I really want to thank you for having the stamina to stay this long and listen to all of us. I think that's very Hawaiian and it's very democratic. What's going around is the testimony I prepared 2 days ago to meet the 48-hour rule. I was surprised on Tuesday night to hear about the initiative with the Department of Interior to seek administrative and executive recognition as a federal Indian tribe. So I did prepare something addressing that because it changed my testimony. So I have copies of my testimony that I'm going to give today that I'd like to circulate. And to the audience, I made extra copies. Anyone who would like to have a copy of my testimony, just see me over there after this. And it's a long testimony, but I'm going to be very, very brief. And I would like the trustees to look at the one dated May 29th, the one just passed out. I wrote it because it addresses the issue of federal recognition. And there's two types of federal recognition. There's federal recognition of Hawaiians as an Indian tribe or as a federally recognized tribe, and there's federal recognition of Hawaii as a nation state. And I really only want to make one point today. I only have one thing to say, and it's the thing I said on April 17th at the forum at the law school, and that was the first time that I ever laid this evidence out in a public forum, and I think it affected Dr. Crabb in such a way that he wrote those 4 questions. I think that's true. And I'm laying it out for the second time today, and it's a point that I think is really important. And the point is this: what's the strongest evidence of guilt in law? It's a confession. It's a confession because it comes from the mouth. It's the words of the very person who is being charged with being guilty of something. And what I want to say is all these questions about the United States having jurisdiction over Hawaii can be answered by something I discovered about 17 years ago, and I've been studying it for this time because I wanted to be sure that it was correct. And it's the law of the United States. By the laws of the United States in the Organic Act of 1900, creating a government for the territory of Hawaii, the United States admits or confesses that it does not have jurisdiction over the Hawaiian Islands. So people have been saying this. They've been saying, oh, we're occupied. But what I'm saying is different. It is the United States itself which admits. So there can be no question that by the laws of the United States and the Constitution of the United States, that the Hawaiian Islands are not territory of the United States. So the point I really want to make is, if the Hawaiian Islands are not territory of the United States doesn't have jurisdiction over the Hawaiian Islands. That means the United States, in a sense, is either belligerently or benignly occupying the Hawaiian Islands. And the law of the occupation is essentially that the occupying power can never acquire the sovereignty of the occupant nation. So if you want to rephrase that first question that Dr. Crabb asked, I would put it this way. The United States has recognized since 1898, and it's in its own laws and in its own words, that the sovereignty of the nation of Hawaii still exists. So, my point is, we need not drop so low as to say the only federal recognition we must accept is that of a federal Indian tribe. We have the United States itself admitting in the law of the Organic Act, and it says there, and I've laid it out in this piece, that the United States admits by its failure to include the Hawaiian Islands within the territory of Hawaii that it recognizes the sovereignty of the nation of Hawaii. So I know my time is up. If anybody wants to scrounge me a few minutes, I would appreciate that. You asked?
Are you actually signed up?
No.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Sign up so we can
Yeah, I got to play fair. But for the trustees who are here, I really would appreciate you just taking your time to go through this. It starts with the idea of looking at the United States presently recognizes the nation of Hawaii. On the second page, who is sovereign over the Hawaiian Islands? The Kingdom of Hawaii, the Provisional Government, the Republic of Hawaii. I say it's the nation of Hawaii, and what we must do now. And what I'm saying is, I understand the desires of the trustees to protect the trusts and all Hawaiian programs by creating a political relationship with their beneficiaries to make invulnerable the trust. But if the United States has no jurisdiction and the Hawaiian Islands are a foreign country to the United States, it cannot apply its laws to strike down those trusts.
I think we really ask you is 5 minutes, BC.
Oh, well.
Lindsay has a question for you.
I'll take questions.
Because we asked.
I have a question. In my mind, when I saw Kamana's letter, I wondered if it was addressed to the right people. In my mind, I thought it should have been a United Nations or an international place that it should have gone. Because why would the United States admit that they overthrew our government?
The United States is a very skilled player in law and politics. You're right. There's some doubt that they would be honest and forthcoming. The enforcement of the laws of international law lie in bodies outside of the nation. It's very difficult to enforce. So look at Crimea. We have not seen anybody be able to enforce the exit of the Soviet Union or the Russia from Crimea. But the international law provides for protecting state. It provides for international sanctions by the Security Council. It provides for the ability of economic sanctions that would harm, as has been imposed by the United States as to Russia. So you're right that ultimately we take our case outside. My point is the bargaining position of the Hawaiian people is much stronger, in my mind, than we've been led to believe, and that the educational process will bring this out. That the United States itself admits two things that are key: that it is not sovereign over Hawaii, and the state of Hawaii is not sovereign. Now that's a very big thing to assert, because you're overturning 120 years of deeds and contracts, and you're overturning the state. But not only are we alleging it, it's been admitted by the United States, and I would just point out that the bottom of page 1 is your proof. That in Section 2 of the Organic Act, they were trying to define what's in the territory of the territory of Hawaii that was being annexed. And this is what they said. They didn't say it in terms of Hawaii, Oahu, Maui, and Kauai are in the territory of the United States. They said the following, and I quote verbatim, that the islands acquired by the United States of America under an act of Congress entitled Joint Resolution to provide for annexing, you have to turn the page, the Hawaiian Islands to the United States, approved July 1898, shall be known as the territory of Hawaii. In other words, they're saying that the only islands in the United States are those that have been acquired by the Joint Resolution. And we just have heard many people testify, and they are correct, that the Joint Resolution was not a treaty. It had no power to acquire islands. So what I'm saying is, celebrate. You don't need to, go down for federal recognition of the federal Indian tribe. You can start already saying that the United States recognizes that the nation of Hawaii still has sovereignty, and that negotiations should begin on a nation-to-nation level.
I have another question. I've been hearing a lot of testimony on the international process and our Act 195 process. if our Lahui was to sign up for Kanayolo Balo, will we be able to still be in the international arena too?
I think it's critical that there be nation building however the Hawaiian people decide. In other words, who is going to negotiate with the United States? Who is going to take this to international? You've got the right direction. There must be a nation. What happened to the nation of Hawaii? The United States considers it as extinguished and not existing. It has to be rebuilt. There are groups that have been claiming that it still exists. The United States doesn't respect them. When it comes to the recognition by the United States on a nation-to-nation basis, we need a process by which a majority of the Hawaiians are going to say, we are the nation. I'm not saying how to achieve it. I think you're doing what you're doing as OHA trustees, and others have suggested other ways, but the end result would be for someone to finally stand up and say to the United States, we're the nation of Hawaii. We are back in business. We would like to negotiate with you, and we would like to go to the international forum to point out the wrongs that you've committed.
Trustee Bobby, question for BC Chang.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One question for Professor Chang about the clock. When we opened up our session this morning during the administration's presentation, Dr. Abad presented 3 questions. The second of the 3 questions was, how does OHA remain neutral in this nation-building process? In my thought, based on Andre's presentation earlier and his concern about the Department of Interior preparing a visit to Hawaii for consultations, my thought is this. We should allow Kapohana to send another letter to the Department of Interior, maybe with help from Professor Chang, rephrasing some of the questions that he asked in his original letter. And in this letter, we should say to the Department of Interior, we don't want you to come to Hawaii to pursue your consultation because we're not ready for you. And when we're ready, maybe we'll send you an invitation to resolve the very issue that Professor Chang just spoke to.
Well, then don't count on it. That's something
We'll have to discuss that a little bit more in detail and take a decision. Okay, coming up.
Just really quick. First of all, mahalo, thank you for coming. I never met you. I only saw you on the live the video. On the, yeah. Yeah. But you are correct. The panel did really intrigue me because as a senior law professor, you know, your statements came out very clear. But I wanted to answer Trustee Hulu Lindsay's question is because my reasoning behind it is because if what many people are saying is that the 1893 overthrow is illegal and that the agreements between the legal Kalani and President Cleveland were formal contracts. I don't know if you want to call them treaties.
They're called executive agreements.
Right. And then if the 1898 Joint Resolution Annexation is a congressional act and falls short of a treaty, therefore the annexation is invalid, then that to me was very clear that this matter still is in the international courts or the international law arena. And therefore, the proper body within the United States government that deals with foreign affairs as nation to nation, the proper addressee should be the Secretary of State.
I agree. I think it's I think it's both a matter of national, United States policy and law and international law. We all know that there is international law, but the problem with international law is there's no superior body there to enforce it. It's got to be self. The United States has ignored international law. I just spoke about their confession. They confessed in 1900, and they confessed again in 1959. They knew they couldn't take Hawaii. But they were sort of daring the world to intervene. They were daring us to raise our voices.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on because we have some meetings.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to pass out my copies over there.
Keep Hawaiian lands in Hawaiian hands, yeah. Keep Hawaiian